On September the 3rd, 1999, I found myself taking delivery of a vintage World War II Avro 652 Anson from a small museum in Gothenburg to a private collector situated in the suburbs of Osaka, Japan. The most direct route is, surprisingly, a crossing of the North Atlantic, then a quick stop for fuel at Baffin Island, and then a trip over the Arctic wastes, finally following the western Pacific Rim down to Japan. Within minutes of leaving Baffin Island, a stranger entered the cockpit. He was carrying a crude homemade bomb, which, he informed me, was timed to explode in approximately 3 minutes. It was impossible to reason with him, as he had no demands. I had to act fast, and was therefore forced to carry out a dangerous and difficult manoeuvre known as CHEESEMANS curve. An increase in velocity, combined with a sudden decrease in altitude, a sudden application of reverse thrust, the opening of the rear cargo door, and bingo, the perfect curve. I had plenty of rations, warm clothing, stout walking boots, and the kind of peace and serenity that I'd often longed for. However, this was not to last. An English TV and radio celebrity known as Jason Swift, on a sponsored televised walk to the North Pole, had seen my plane come down and had decided to investigate. Swift, with his catchphrase of "I love birds," was apparently raising money for the bird sanctuary that is featured in his TV programme Bird Hospital. I have the utmost respect for the likes of Amundsen, Nansen, Papinan and Perry, but there was nothing brave about this journey of Swift's. He had a local guide who was also pulling both of the sledges and was in regular contact with the UK via a live satellite link. Then suddenly, the pack ice on which Swift was standing broke away. I could have offered him my hand, but declined. There was something quite magical watching him disappear towards the open sea, a mere 6 hours in his quest for the pole. We were all rescued early the next morning. Unfortunately, it took the authorities 3 days to find Swift, who was then suffering from frostbite and hypothermia. And back in England, I was used as a scapegoat by the tabloid press as a reason for Swift's failure. Swift then challenged me to a live on-air confrontation. Now, I had only recently become a member of the Grand Lodge of Tunbridge Wells, so I decided to call Grandmaster Richard Gull. A very close friend of his is the Chief Inspector for New Scotland Yard, and he agreed to look into the background of Jason Swift. On the evening of the programme, Swift immediately turned the audience against me by telling them how much money he would have raised for the bird sanctuary. I beckoned the camera towards me. My first exhibit was a photograph of bird lover Jason Swift with a brace of grouse following a recent hunting trip. And my second exhibit, a shot from 1974 of Swift hitting a goose with a spade. The audience were furious, and then the police arrived to arrest him. Following an anonymous tip-off, the police had discovered a selection of endangered birds' eggs in Swift's car. Schedule 1, Part 1 of the 1981 Wildlife and Countryside Act clearly states that it is an offence to take the eggs of any of the birds listed on the endangered list. Chief Justice SWAN took great offence to this crime and jailed Swift for 10 years. A month or so later, at a lodge meeting, I met Prison Governor Philip Eagle. He promised me that he would closely monitor the progress of Jason Swift. Good afternoon, my name is Captain Brian Finch, and on behalf of our company, thank you for flying with us.